I'm finally trying pastel pencils for the first time. And why not do it on camera in front of a few thousand people without reading the instructions first? Shane bought me this set of amazing Caran pastel pencils for my birthday 2 months ago, and I have been waiting to try them. I've previously used pan pastels maybe once or twice, and I think I know what to expect. Well, actually, I have no idea. I know that these are essentially a soft pastel in a pencil form. And I know from my only attempt at soft pastels a few months ago that soft pastels are not actually as soft as I first expected. They're more like a chalky texture, but they blend out really smooth and can create amazing results. So I don't know what to expect today, but I know that I love pencils. And from the amazing artwork I've seen from other pastel artists, I'm confident that I will grow to love these too, which is why I told Shane to go all out and buy me the best of the best, even though I'm a total newbie. Let's hope we don't regret that decision by the end of this video. I've got some Canson Me Taunt pastel paper to use today. I assumed by the name that this would be suitable for this. And I've chosen my reference photo from depositphotos.com, and with the help of a light box, I've traced it ready to go so I can focus on the pastels and we can get started right away. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I'm not really sure if I'm supposed to be using my fingers to blend or a cotton bud or a blending stump or something else, so we might just kind of see how we go with a few different options today, or whether you even just use the pencils to blend. So the logical first step for me is choosing the colors that I need, and these colors are gorgeous. And I'm going to be pulling a lot of the blues and teals today, which are some of my favorite colors. I've also got a piece of tracing paper here because I am notorious for resting my arm on my work, and being pastels, I can see that might present a problem. So the tracing paper is here to rest my arm on, because otherwise I suspect I'm gonna be pretty gray and blue in every color along here, and that's gonna end up in my work because that is pretty inevitable for me. For the same reason I am starting in the top left corner, I am not gonna start in the middle of the piece like I'm tempted to, which is probably a good thing, because then by the time I get to the middle of the piece, which is my main character in this, hopefully I've got a little bit of practice of the technique and the middle can really look great. So let's get all those mistakes out in the background. So far, these pencils are quite a different experience to using colored pencils. I have seen a lot of artists don't sharpen these to the fine point that I would usually sharpen a colored pencil. So I'm trying to keep that in mind as I'm using them as well, that I don't need to have the sharpest point, at least not for these background sections. That might change as I come to do some details, so we'll just see how we go. But other than that, I haven't really seen these in use, so this is very much just an experimentation, but it also makes it fun. It's like exploring a whole new medium for me, and I'm really excited to see this come to life. I'm a little bit torn here because I want to do more of the background for the sake of consistency, because as I'm learning my technique, I don't want to sort of finish one side and then not be able to replicate it. But I don't want to do a mass amount and then end up on top of it because of what I said before about smudging. I kind of don't know how to approach these. Realistically, I'm probably better stopping here and finishing this corner and coming back to it, because I don't know how much the tracing paper with me moving is going to rub and mess everything up. But I think that's probably the safer way to go. I get very messy. I don't trust myself not to put my hand in this. Oh, I almost just put my hand in it already. That's the whole point in this sheet. I can't. I like to draw with my hand flat. It's been no more than, I think, maybe 30 seconds since I said I wasn't going to put my hand in it, and I've already got blue on my hand. I don't know if there is hope for me in getting through this whole picture without turning blue. So as I start adding a little bit more pressure, all of a sudden the resistance against the paper increases massively. Maybe this is where I need to use some of these blending techniques or something to try and find a different way to get the color down. Or maybe I'm doing it right. I don't know. So I'm just gonna keep fiddling and hope that I'm not doing it wrong. We'll just see. So the blending stump at this point actually makes a massive difference. It obviously spreads out the pastels so it fills in way more area. And as you can see, that color is just coming to life. So I think I'm gonna do this between layers, and maybe I add a layer of pastel and then I blend it out and then add another layer of pastel and then I blend it out, and we'll see what happens. In sharpening these pastels, I've heard a lot of recommendations, but the most important thing is to find a sharpener that will be gentle on them. I'm actually going to use my Caran Masterpiece sharpener because it works in 2 steps. First, it sharpens the wood, then it sharpens the core. So I can use this to shave off the wooden case and skip the second step, leaving the core untouched. And I've had my first major pencil breakage. I think I might need to change my approach. I'm struggling a bit with my technique here, and the pastel isn't really building up layers and hiding the white as well as I'd hoped. It really applies on the paper in a different way to normal pencils, so I'm going to try working with sharper pencils, maybe a bit more pressure, which for me actually feels a little bit more in my comfort zone. Although I'm not sure how these soft cores will go with a sharper point. I'll use a sanding block to create the sharper point instead of a sharpener, and I'll try to keep all this extra pigment and shavings to fill the lower layers of the background or to use on a future project so it's not going to waste. Oh no, I was too rough and it broke in the sharpener. I know these are soft pastels, so I need to be more careful, but I think I underestimated how easily they would break. I'm going to try sharpening my pastels with a knife. This is what Caran recommends and what I've heard other artists recommend, although I've been avoiding the idea. I remember in school, my art teacher refused to let us use pencil sharpeners and only let us sharpen our colored pencils with knives like this. And I hated how ugly it made the pencils look because I love a perfectly sharpened pencil. And I've never been able to get that same kind of point with a knife. But it's time I learn how to do this. Oh, this pencil keeps breaking. And this is my favorite color. I shouldn't have done my first ever project with my favorite colors. I can at least salvage the broken core and maybe use it for pastel backgrounds or something else in a future project if I grind down the pigment. I mean, it's a shame because these pencils aren't cheap, and I bought the pencils because I wanted a pencil, not a powder or a stick, but at least it won't go to waste. I might need to buy some open stock pencils when I'm done to replace a few of these in my set. So I am pretty happy with how this is turning out. And I think these pastels are definitely something that with a bit more practice, I think I would love to use more. I do have a question for all the people out there that already use soft pastels, especially for really detailed portraits and professional art. I would love to know, do you use pastels on their own on a piece like this? Or do you like to pair up pastels with then using other quality colored pencils? Because I can see benefits to both ways, and I'm sort of unsure, even with this piece, do I want to finish it with just pastels, and are they powerful enough to do a whole piece? Or is there a benefit to bringing in my other Caran pencils and finishing off the fine details with that? So I'm gonna keep working and see how I feel towards the end of this as to which way I'm going to go. But I would love to hear from you what your experiences are and if there are any pros and cons. And everything is turning blue from all this pastel dust. My pencils definitely aren't pretty anymore, and I probably should have put something down on my desk. I'm not sure it will ever be white again. But we're still okay. Experimenting always comes with risks and learning with challenges, and that's what makes it an adventure. The best way to learn any new medium is definitely to just give it a go. Yes, these are expensive pastels, and I'll probably use up more of them in the learning process than I will when I'm more experienced. But what better way to learn than to get right in and use the tools you want to learn? The only wasted art supplies are the ones left unopened, even when they come in a pretty box like this, where it feels like a slight shame to get them messy. If they're not being used, they're being wasted. You can always buy more supplies, and at the end of the day, these supplies are designed to be used. They are designed to provide you with an opportunity to be creative, and if you're not using them, you're missing out on the potential to develop your skills and enjoy the creative experience they offer. After working on these for a while now, I am loving the colors. I'm loving the blending, but I'm hating the breakage and I'm hating the sounds. Although some of that might just be that my technique still needs work. I'm turning blue. Yeah, this is definitely broken. This is a big page, so I've decided to work on it over a few days. So it's a new day and I've cleaned up my hands and my desk to give myself a fresh start. I've got a new piece of tracing paper and everything is looking a little less blue. I've even tried cleaning my pencils, sort of. If you want your supplies to stay pretty, forget using them. But it's better to have messy supplies than empty canvases. I should put that on a shirt. I've been trying a few different methods for blending so far, and today I've got some cotton buds to see if they can blend without making so much mess. The paper stumps worked well, but I'm not going to be able to use them on any other colours now that they are so blue. And I'm pretty sure that some of my pencils are actually broken inside at this point. While I know that some breakage is normal when using such delicate supplies like soft pastels, I'm pretty confident that they shouldn't be breaking as often as these few pencils are. These are breaking so much and I don't want to waste them. So maybe I'll switch to using some of the powder and these broken pieces instead of the actual pencils for a while.
What are you doing?
I have no idea. Well, that's making a bit of a mess, but that's a whole layer of pastel right there. The horrible scratchy sounds haven't been as bad today, so I think this is improving as my technique improves. And overall, I'm feeling more confident in my layering and I'm finding the blending much easier now. I'm even making less of a mess. Well, yeah, sort of. Honestly, my only frustration at this point is the amount of breakage. These pencils just keep breaking, especially my darkest blue. I've given up completely on trying to sharpen this to a point and I'm just trying to expose any amount of the core so I can actually hold the pencil instead of just using these tiny fragments of pastel. But the core is broken the whole way along. I don't know if this is common with soft pastels or if this is specific to Caran soft pastels, or if this is just an unlucky situation for me personally where maybe this particular set was damaged in transit and the pencils were broken. I've sent an email to Caran to see what they think and if anything can be done, so hopefully I'll get a quick response and maybe even a replacement for the worst of these broken pencils. I've been working on this for a few days now and the background is almost done. Close up, I can still see more of the paper texture than I would personally like, but I think that might be more to do with the paper choice, and I didn't want to fight against the paper when I'm not confident in this medium yet. I might look into some other pastel papers in the future to see if they produce different results, or if it's just a different technique that other artists use to produce the smoother finish on their pages. If you know the answer, please let me know in the comments. It's finally time to work on our main character, and I'm excited because it means I can finally put away these frustrating broken colours and start fresh with some new pencils. So I'm using my tracing paper to cover as much of my work as possible and taping it down so I don't accidentally move it as I'm working. I've cleaned up the excess pigment around my desk and tried to clean up my supplies as much as possible, ready to start with new colours. At this point, my biggest challenge is going to be keeping my hands and pencils away from the blue so I don't accidentally drag it onto my fish. My fish is going to be more oranges and yellows, so any dark blues mixed in will make it grey very quickly and will be hard to undo. Here's hoping these colours aren't broken like my blues. The blues are all from the top layer and the storage case, so hopefully any damage has been limited to that layer. Although given the amount of padding and protection in the case, I really don't know how these were so broken in the first place. At this point, you've probably worked out what I'm drawing here. And you're right. It's a totally non-specific, non-famous, non-trademark clownfish that doesn't rhyme with limo. The oranges actually feel a little easier to use, maybe because they are lighter colours, so the white gaps from the paper texture are less noticeable, or maybe my technique is improving now that I've been working on this picture for 15 hours over 5 or 6 days at this point. I bet it feels much faster watching this over the 15 or so minutes on YouTube, but in reality, this has been a week-long project for me. And I've been really enjoying it, despite the challenges and setbacks along the way. I love how easily I can make any colour with these pastels, and I can see myself using these alongside my other media in the future. Maybe not for a large piece on their own like this again, but definitely with some of my other pencils. Or maybe alongside my pan pastels that I've also barely used at this point. This is where a sharper point is more useful. I really want the details in this fish to stand out. The background was allowed to be a little bit blurry, but this fish needs to look in focus and clear to make this picture work. So we'll see what these pastels can do. I love how easily I can adjust and blend these colors. This is really starting to look like not Nemo. I've taken the risk and sharpened these colors to a finer point with my dull 133 crank sharpener instead of using the knife. And I'm enjoying them much more when they are sharp. Whether it's my set that's damaged or maybe Caran pastels are just really soft, I think I'd like to find a way to be able to use my pastels this way in the future because it's far more enjoyable for me and allows me to use them more like I use my pencils with finer details and a smoother finish. And on that, I have good news about the broken pencils. Caran have already replied to my email saying that the breakage isn't normal and they are going to organise a replacement for my broken pencils. The customer support team were wonderful, and so I should be able to get new pencils for these few that were completely broken inside. This is the part of the process I enjoy the most, the final details. It's also the part that I'd usually probably grab my normal pencils for, but the pastels are doing a surprisingly good job. And I think I'm finally done. This took about 17 hours total across the past week, and I think I'm gonna frame this one. It's actually the biggest realistic drawing I've ever done in any medium, so it's exciting to finally see it finished. If you would like to see more videos like this, there are plenty of other media and supplies that I have not tried before. I am a very big newbie when it comes to things like painting, and I can definitely see room for that on this channel. I am willing to be your test subject. So if that all sounds good, or if you would actually like to see me do things that I do know how to do, like using colored pencils and teaching you how to get more out of those kind of supplies, please subscribe for more videos like this. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see, and check out these other videos that I have already chosen that I think that you will enjoy. Thanks for watching.